Hello students. In the previous part, we had studied about the asexual reproduction in the plants as well as the sexual reproduction in case of the plant, and also discussed about the vegetative reproduction and the tissue culture, and also study how the fertilization in the plants occurs and how the seed are formed and how seed germinate into the new plant. Now in this part we will study how the living organism, especially human, how the reproduction occurs. In human, there is a mainly sexual reproduction. So in this part, we will study male and female reproductive system in human. Reproduction in the human being. As we know that the human being show the sexual reproduction, the male parent produce male gametes called sperm. Sperm have a tail and therefore it is the motile. They are produced in the large number in the testes. And female parent produce female gametes called ova. Ovum is a bigger, non-motile, and only one ovary produce one ovum in 1 month. Ova contain stored food while the sperm do not store the food. And both the gamete are microscopic, unicellular, and have half number of the chromosome as compared to the body of cell. So रिप्रोडक्शन में जो मेल पेरेंट है वो मेल गैमीट प्रोड्यूस करता है. मेल गैमीट क्या होता है ह्यूमन में? स्पर्म होता है. एंड स्पर्म स्ट्रक्चर इज लाइक इट हैव द टेल. Due to the tail it is a motile, and there is the large number of the sperm produced in the testes. एंड जो फीमेल पेरेंट है वो फीमेल गैमीट प्रोड्यूस करता है. फीमेल गैमीट का नेम होता है ओवा. ओवा क्या है? एक बिगर नॉन मोटाइल एज कंपेयर टू स्पर्म. उसकी शेप क्या होती है? बिगर होती है और नॉन मोटाइल होता है. नॉन मोटाइल मतलब मूव नहीं करता. एंड देर इज द ओनली वन ओवम इज प्रोड्यूस इन द मंथ. तो सिर्फ एक ओवम प्रोड्यूस होता है एक मंथ में, while in case of the sperm there is a large number of the sperm produced, and ova contain the stored food. And the both gamete are the microscopic. जो both gamete है वो microscopic होते हैं, unicellular होते हैं. and the half number of the chromosome कैसे होता है? due to the meiosis से, जैसे आपने previous class में पढ़ा, meiosis से क्या half number of chromosome हो जाता है. तो इस तरह से इसमें हाफ नंबर ऑफ क्रोमोसोम होता है. और ओवम और स्पर्म क्या है? ये एक हैप्लॉइड सेल है, जबकि रेस्ट ऑफ बॉडी क्या है? डिप्लॉइड है. मेल रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम कंसिस्ट ऑफ द फॉलोइंग कंपोनेंट्स: one pair of the testes, a system of the ducts, epididymis, vas deferens or the sperm duct, urethra, a system of the glands, that is the seminal vesicle, prostate gland and copper gland, and the presence of the copulatory organ called a penis. Now in this picture you can see the different component of the male reproductive system. First we have studied about the testes. There is the presence of the one pair of the testes. This structure is called the testes, and testes enclosed by the this sac-like structure. This is called scrotum. This helps into the lower the temperature by the 1 to 2 degree for the active sperm function. And after the testes there is the epididymis. This tube-like structure which attached to this testes is called epididymis, and this epididymis runs into this tube-like structure. This tube-like structure is called vas deferens, and this enter into the urinary bladder. This is the bladder, and from this it pass through a duct, and in duct there are the different type of the glands, accessory gland males. like as the seminal. This is the prostate gland, and this tubular coiled structure is the seminal vesicle, and from this it pass into the urethra and finally come outside the penis. So as we know that there are the different component of the male reproductive system. First we have studied about the testes, as there is the presence of one pair of the testes. These testes are present in the bag-like structure called the scrotum. In the previous slide I have explained about the scrotum, which is lie outside the abdominal cavity, hence they are the extra abdominal in the position. Thus this is because the testes have to maintain at the 1 to 3 degree lesser temperature than the body in order to produce the functional sperms. सो मेल ह्यूमन बॉडी में क्या होता है, वन पेयर ऑफ द टेस्टिस होता है, और जो टेस्टिस के बाहर एक स्ट्रक्चर होता है उसको क्या बोलते हैं, हम स्क्रॉटम बोलते हैं, और ये क्या होता है, आउटसाइड द एब्डोमिनल कैविटी होता है, सो दैट कि जो टेम्परेचर है इनसाइड द सेक्रोटम वो क्या रहे, 1 या 3 डिग्री कम रहे एज कम्पेयर टू द बॉडी टेम्परेचर. वो टेम्परेचर कम क्यों चाहिए, क्योंकि फॉर द produce the more functional sperms. And now function of the testes. What is the function of the testes? First, to produce the male gametes, that is the sperms, and to produce the male reproductive hormones like testosterone, which is responsible for the producing sperm as well as the secondary sexual characteristics in males. In seminiferous tubules of the testes, there is the presence of the Leydig cell, or it is also called as the interstitial cell. They produce and they secrete male hormones. So basic function of the testes is to form the sperm and form the hormone. Hormone name is the testosterone, which is responsible for the producing the sperm as well as the secondary sexual characteristics in the male. Now second structure component of the male reproductive system is the epididymis. As we know that the epididymis is attached with the testes and it is a tube-like structure. And what is its function? The function of the epididymis is the sperms are storage here and they mature in the epididymis. So basic function epididymis का क्या है, ये sperm को store करता है और sperm को mature होने में help करता है. Next component of the male reproductive system is the vas deferens. Each didymus leads into the sperm duct or the vas deferens. Each vas deferens rises up and enters into the abdominal canal. It unites with the ducts coming from the urinary bladder to form the common duct called the urethra, which passes through the penis and opens to the outside. Along the way, ducts and the 3 glands are also open and pour their secretion into vas deferens. सो वास्ट डिफरेंस क्या है, तो उसमें मैंने बताया था जो एपिडिडाइमस से एक ट्यूब लाइक स्ट्रक्चर ग्रो कर रहा है वो वास्ट डिफरेंस होता है वो, और वो क्या होता है, रन करता है एब्डोमिनल कैविटी की साइड और वो यूरिनरी ब्लैडर में तक जाता है और वहाँ पे एक कॉमन पैसेज बनाता है for the sperms as well as urine, or this is called the urethra, and this passes through the penis. और जो urethra से वो कहाँ होता है, पेनिस तक पास होता है and open inside. Along the way vas डिफरेंस के जो वे में है वो मैंने इससे पहले कहा था 3 ग्लैंड्स मेल असेसरी ग्लैंड होते हैं वो आते हैं और जो भी उसकी सिक्रेशन होती है वो भी स्पर्म्स और यूरिन के साथ में मूव करती है. नाउ function of the vas deferens, it is the meant for the passage of the mature sperm to the urethra in the male body. So basic function क्या है इसका, जो sperms है उसको mature sperm को क्या करता है, ये move करता है to urethra तक move करने में help करता है. Now male accessory glands. There are the three glands. The name of the accessory gland in the males are seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and bulbourethral gland, also called as the copper gland. So what is the function of this gland? They produce different secretion which provide the nutrition as well as medium for the locomotion of the sperms. The secretion of the three gland along with the sperm is known as semen. So जो basic तीन accessory gland है like as the seminal vesicle, prostate gland and copper gland, उसका क्या function होता है? वो provide करता है nutrition as well as the medium for the locomotion of the sperms. And the secretion of जो ये जो तीन gland है इनकी secretion plus sperm is known as the semen. Now function of the urethra. As we had studied in the previous slide, the vas deferens runs into the urethra. And what is the function of the urethra? It is a common passage for the both semen and urine from the body to outside. So its function is to passage of the semen as well as urine from the body to outside. Then penis. In human male, the penis serves as the both reproductive organ and as a urinary duct. It is the organ which used to the introduce sperm into the female body. It richly supplied with the blood vessel. So penis is basically organ which have the both function in the reproduction as well as in the excretion, and it is the richly supplied with the blood vessels, and its main function is to introduce to the semen into the female body. Now we will study female reproductive system. The human female reproductive system consists of the following components. First is the one pair of ovaries and one pair of the fallopian tubes, or also called as the oviducts, and a uterus, or also called the womb, and vagina, and or also called as the birth canal. So now in this picture you can see the female reproductive system, as there is the pair of ovary. This structure is called ovary, and there is a one pair of objective, means two ovaries. One is this left side, one is in right side. So this is the one pair of the ovary, and function of ovary is to produce egg or ova, and there is the presence of one pair of the fallopian tube. This structure is called fallopian tube, and this also right side is also the fallopian tube structure. Okay, so there is the ovary, one pair of ovary and one pair of the fallopian tube. In the ovary there is the production of the ovum or egg cell, and in the fallopian tube there is the fertilization of the sperms and egg, and after that there is the uterus or womb. This structure is called uterus or the womb, and the layer outside this layer is called endometrium, and this layer is called myo. Outside this endometrium layer is the myometrium, and there is the cervix. This portion is called cervix, and this is the vagina is also called the birth canal. So now we will study in detail the different components of the female reproductive system and their functions. First is the ovary. Each ovary is the almond shape and present inside the abdominal cavity. At the time of the birth, each girl child already contains thousands of the immature ova. These ova start maturing only after the time of the puberty. Only one ovum is produced by one ovary in 1 month, and each ovary releases an ovum in the alternate month. The release of an ovum from the ovary into the abdominal cavity is known as ovulation. So ovary क्या है, almond shape होती है और inside the abdominal cavity में present होती है. And at the time of the child birth, जब किसी गर्ल चाइल्ड का बर्थ होता तो वो जो देर आर द इमेच्योर ओवा 1000 इमेच्योर ओवा जो कि पहले ही प्रोड्यूस हो चुके होते हैं, बट वो क्या होते हैं, इमेच्योर होते हैं. एंड आफ्टर द अटेनिंग द प्यूबर्टी दे स्टार्ट टू मैच्योरिंग and only one ovum is produced in an ovary in a month and they are produced in the alternative months. इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि जैसे हमने कहा कि पेयर ऑफ ओवरी होता है, अगर एक महीने एक लेफ्ट वाली ओवरी प्रोड्यूस करेगी ओवम तो नेक्स्ट मंथ कौन करेगी, राइट वाली, फिर उसके बाद उससे नेक्स्ट लेफ्ट राइट, इस तरह से क्या अल्टरनेट मंथ पे वो ओवम प्रोड्यूस करती है. सो जो ये रिलीज ऑफ ओवरी फ्रॉम ovum from the ovary to the uterus is called the ovulation. Now what is the function of the ovary? First is main function is to the release ova and to produce the female hormones like as the estrogen and progesterone. And इसका जो main function है वो ova produce करती है और जो फीमेल रिप्रोडक्टिव हार्मोन लाइक एज द एस्ट्रोजन एंड प्रोजेस्ट्रॉन को रिलीज करता है. जब हमने टेस्टिस में पढ़ा था तो उसमें कौन सा था, टेस्टोस्टेरोन. टेस्टिस कौन सा हार्मोन प्रोड्यूस करता था, टेस्टोस्टेरोन. तो आपको ये याद रखना है कि जो मेल रिप्रोडक्टिव हार्मोन है वो टेस्टोस्टेरोन और जो फीमेल में होता है वो एस्ट्रोजन एंड प्रोजेस्ट्रॉन होता है. सेकेंड पार्ट इज द fallopian tubes. They are the two fallopian tubes. The end lying close to ovary has the finger-like the structure called the fimbriae. The two fallopian tubes unite to form the elastic bag-like structure called uterus. So basically क्या होता है, वन पेयर ऑफ द फैलोपियन ट्यूब होता है. जो इससे पहले स्लाइड देखी थी उसमें आपने पिक्चर में देखा था कि जो फैलोपियन ट्यूब है वो किससे, ओवरी के साथ जुड़ी होती है, लाइक फिंगर लाइक द स्ट्रक्चर, उसको हम फिम्ब्राई बोलते हैं. जिससे वो जो ओवरी से ओवम रिलीज होता है वो फैलोपियन ट्यूब में जाता है और फैलोपियन जो दो फैलोपियन ट्यूब होते हैं वो एक जगह एक इलास्टिक बैग लाइक स्ट्रक्चर में यूनाइट करती है. उस स्ट्रक्चर को क्या बोलते हैं, यूट्रस बोलते हैं. नाउ व्हाट इज द फंक्शन ऑफ द फैलोपियन tubes? Main function is it's to the site of the fertilization, means here is the fertilization occurs, that is the male and female gamete fuse between the male and the female gamete and formation of the zygote and the early embryo. And inner lining of the uterus is richly supplied with the blood vessel and known as the endometrium. The narrow end of the uterus is called cervix. So main function of the fallopian tube is the site of the fertilization, and in there is the formation of the zygote and the early embryo, and the inner line of the uterus is richly supplied with the blood vessel and it is called as the endometrium, and the narrow end is called as the cervix. Fallopian tubes unite into the a structure like bag-like structure is called the uterus. And what is the function of the uterus or the womb? As we know that it is the site of the implantation of the fetus or the embryo. So the embryo formed in the fallopian tubes comes down and get attached to the endometrium and develops for the next 9 months till the baby is delivered. सो यूट्रस का बेसिक फंक्शन क्या है, जो एम्ब्रियो फैलोपियन ट्यूब में फॉर्म होता है ड्यूरिंग द फर्टिलाइजेशन, वो क्या होता है, जब फैलोपियन ट्यूब से पास होते हुए एंडोमेट्रियम तक आता है. एंडोमेट्रियम हमने कहा था कि यूट्रस में होती है एक वॉल लाइक स्ट्रक्चर, थिक वॉल लाइक स्ट्रक्चर, और उस एम्ब्रियो को जब तक फीटस 9 मंथ तक का नहीं होता तब तक उसको इम्प्लांट, बेबी को यूट्रस में इम्प्लांट बनाए रखने में यूट्रस का फंक्शन होता है. फोर्थ कंपोनेंट इज द वेजाइना. द यूट्रस ओपन into the vagina through the cervix. The vagina is the muscular tube through which the baby is delivered at the end of the 9 months. It also serves as the canal for the receiving the semen at the time of the copulation. So जो यूट्रस होता है वो opens हो जाता है into the vagina through the cervix, and vagina is the muscular tube. It is the muscular tube and help into the delivering of the baby after the completion of the 9 month, and its another function is to it's as a serve the canal for the receiving the semen at the time of the copulation. Now, let us recall what we have studied in this part. In this part, we have studied about the male reproductive system and the female reproductive system. In the male reproductive system, we studied about the different components like as the a pair of the testes, which function is to the produce sperms, and to male hormones like as the testosterone, which control the secondary sexual character in the male as well as the formation of the sperm. Then we studied about the epididymis, which function as the storage of the sperm. Then we studied about the vas deferens, which carry the sperms from epididymis to the urethra. And then we studied about the penis, which is the organ which serve as the both function like as the reproduction as well as in the excretion. In the female part, we have studied about the different component like as there is the presence of the a pair of the ovary, and ovary produce the ovum and also produce the female hormones like as the estrogen as and the progesterone. Then we studied about the fallopian tube where the fertilization of the sperms and ovum take place. Then we studied about the uterus where the implantation of the embryo take place, and the vagina from where the which is also called as the birth canal, which help into the delivery of the fetus during the birth.